What's going on, guys? We got Stockfish versus Leela Chess Zero. This is a blitz game, and the theme of this one is called patience. You gotta have some patience. Okay, here we go. All right, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. We're gonna blitz through some of the moves because it is a very long game, but of course, a lot of patience, right? Let's have some patience. Bishop b5, Roy Lopez, a6, bishop a4. We go d6. You're used to this stuff, right? Nothing new. You see this all the time in a regular Roy Lopez type game. c3 and then bishop d7. That one is a strange one, right? Not one that you see all the time, right? I mean, you're used to seeing all the other lines. In fact, of course, like bishop e7, b5 here, right? I mean, there's even something the engine even gives g5 here. I've never seen that one. Don't try that at home. But of course, bishop e7 and b5 is moves that you'll see all the time in these Roy Lopez's. But bishop d7 can be played. Absolutely can be played. Different move here. After bishop d7, we have d4. Now, instead of going d3, which is the easier, more solid ways to play, you put the bishop on c2 backwards, bishop to e3, knight b to d2, knight f1, castle h3, right? This is the same plans almost all the time. But we can actually play d4 because we don't have the pressure yet of knight f6 attacking on e4. So after bishop d7 is d4, knight g to e7. The knight actually doesn't go to f6 in this lines, but it definitely could. But knight g to e7 is the move here. Sort of like a Cozio type of Roy Lopez that you would see usually would be g6, bishop g7. But there's not a Cozio here, and this doesn't seem that cozy for black at all, actually. In fact, it's just a little bit different, but nevertheless, everything's equal. But now here we go. d5, right? Now, this is definitely not the most popular choice, but the computer loves space advantage here. So d5 is huge, big space advantage, hits the knight. And of course, this pawn is now into black's half of the board. It's very good to understand halves of the board, where, of course, I have space for being into black's half of the board. d5, right? Only good move for the knight is a knight to b8. You can go knight a7, but let's just go knight b8, Breyer style. And if we trade, we're going to take back with the knight. So we play c4 here. Now, that move actually is definitely an engine move, I would say, in my sense, because I'm just going to back the bishop up. I think most of us probably will back the bishop up here. In fact, even Stockfish, as I have the engine on, says bishop to c2 here. But Stockfish actually played c4 in this position. So after c4, g6, and then bishop to g7, of course, is next with casting intentions. Obviously, knight g6 is actually more popular than g6 if you look at games in database. But knight g6 is more popular. g6 was the move in this game. Knight to c3, bishop g7. And okay, right now what we're going to have is development. We're going to get pieces out. Pretty easy stuff. We got to figure out where we're going to put it. So, of course, and we do need patience. This is a long game, and watch why we need patience in this game. Bishop e3, castles, bishop takes d7. Not a necessary trade, but we trade, right? It does help black develop, but whatever. Now, this move right here is actually a novelty. Let's see if you can actually figure out what the novelty is in this position. Usually, there's a moves that happens, which we're going to cover slightly here, but what do you think the move is? White to move. What would you do in this position? Here it is, guys. You have lots of choices, right? So you have a queen c2, you have a queen d2, right? Of course, maybe you can even castle here, which is a very easy move to make. Queen b3. I mean, these moves and castling. h3 as well. Definitely moves you can play. But the move here was a4. That one's a novelty. That one's definitely different. Very strange move from a human perspective. That's why it's like it's a novelty here. But of course, it's just grabbing space. Patience. We don't have to do anything right now. We are going to stop some potential counterplay. Now, black couldn't play that really anyway, but you're not definitely playing it now. And then a5 actually could be played as well. So, okay, we got a4. h6 is sort of a left move. It also is sometimes preparing f5. King's Indian style here. So knight to d2, preparing an f3 if f5. So we go f5. So first off, don't tell fine gold. We play f3. We got to do this, right? We have to, because you don't want f4 to come. And then this is actually some type of King's Indian out of nowhere, right? Went from a Roy Lopez to a King's Indian defense where the knights are actually beautifully placed already for this king side onslaught. And it's going to be definitely a problem for white. So f3, we play a5 from black here. Black's definitely just sitting, kind of waiting, which is not a problem. Of course, the engine can do whatever they like here. But this is not a plan that I guess as a human we would actually like. You want to do something more active, you would think, especially even just going with the plan, as it does look King's Indian-ish at this point now, with f4, g5, and h5, and knight f6. And literally you have all the pieces placed except the light square bishop. So King's Indian fans are raving right now for this type of position. But of course, we go a5. Now, what this is, you could go knight to c5. That's an idea. It does stop b4 as well. So queen to c2, b6, and then we have a castle's queen side. saying, I don't care about any of that. I'm actually going to try to mate you over here. Or are we? Let's actually see what happens. Knight goes back to b8. Nice little reroute. We probably want to go this way, but you could also go to b4. We could have already went to c5. Knight b8 is definitely something for knight a6 and knight to b4 if possible. So rook d to g1. Okay, cool. About to push the pawn, right? About to go for the attack. Go for it. Go for it, right? Let's go. Knight a6. Queen to d1, because of course you don't want to get hit with tempo and everything's on the back rank. Like, as a human, I know exactly. We're going to go this way, chat. We're going to go this way, right? You're watching. Obvious. Watch this, right? Just keep watching. Queen to d7. So he gets the queen off the back rank. What this does is connect the rooks. How easy is that to do, right? Of course, king b1, right? Always play king b1. Shout out to Feingold, right? Rook f7 and then g4. We're going for it. Yes, it's time to open up shop. But he says, not today. f4. So you have to back up the bishop to f2. Right, you have to back up the bishop to f2, and now white actually has a very clear plan here. Very clear plan. Let's see if you know what that plan is. You can pause the video here, and I want you to tell me what the plan is. Not the move, but the plan. You can put it in the chat and comments under the video at this point. What do you think the plan is for white? You ready? Here we go. So the plan here is actually to checkmate the king, right? We're going to checkmate. Psych. That is not it. In fact, probably everyone is thinking you're going to attack on this side of the board. But you're actually all wrong, including me, right? They're like, I mean, you want to attack, which is kind of hard to even do, which you do have the Petrosian type way of defending with h4, h5. And when the pawn gets to h4, by the way, let's just say, actually, let's make a move for black. And we do make a move. In fact, this is actually what happened. Knight to c5 and then h4, right? So the plan here is actually closing up the king side, which actually is going to happen anyway if we go h5 or g5. If you go h5, I go g5. You go g5, I go h5. You've seen this in the famous Petrosian game. And with this, right, after h4, the plan here is actually closing up the king side. Then we're going to walk the king to the other side of the board. And then we're going to play b4. I know. Take it all in. Take it all in, right? Just think about what I said, right? I'm going to close off the board. I'm going to walk my king to the other side of the board. So I'm going to uncastle, right? I'm on b1. I'm going to walk the king over here, and then eventually I'm going to play b4. It takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of moves. Let's see what happens, right? So this game is locked up. The only way that anything's going to happen is through a pawn break. Whoever controls pawn breaks will control the game a lot of times. So you control the pace and etc. So there's going to be a lot of shuffling. But we know what the plan is for white. So let's see what happens. Rook ff8, right? Rook g2. And they just start making moves. Because, I mean, this break is not going to be good because this d6 is very weak. Look at the positional squeeze. But at the same time, white, I mean, you have to break at some point, right? So b4 is coming, but it needs to be at the right moment. b5 can't be played. c6 you can play, but that's like suicide here. Is the d6 pawn. It's going to be drastically weak, right? And then these breaks are always going to be answered by you push one, I push the other. You push one, I push the other, right? So here we go. g5, h5. Easy. King a1. Funny move. I thought I was moving my king to the other side of the board, but I played king a1. Can anyone tell me in the comments, of course, white to move, actually, sorry, after knight to c8, white to move. Why do you think we played king a1? What is the move? A very positional game here. I love this move here. Knight d to b1. I mean, that's like a strange move. Like, it's such a knight d to b1, but it's really not like a... It's just a very quiet move. But what it does is go knight a3 and knight b5, just increasing the pressure. This knight is not a good piece, so we wanted to put it on a great square. So king h7, knight a3, bishop f8, and now king b1. Always play king b1 twice in a game. Okay, king b1, rook to b7, king c1, rook b8, king d2. And look at this beautiful rook. I mean, I guess he just did it. He probably walked the king to g2, right? And that's actually what happened in the game. King e1, walking the king all the way to g2. We're here. Yes, let's go. We win, right? We win. Like, that's it. We got work to do still. King to g2, rook b8. We still have to get b4 in. So watch how this is played. Queen to c2, right? b3. You don't have to play b4 yet. I mean, you actually can't, right? That's going to be a blunder. Come on now. So it's going to take some time. Knight got to a2. Rook a to e8, knight b5. Well, again, remember, patience. We did not have to play b4 when we can or when we could play b4. It needs to be at the right moment. The best attacks are prepared, right? So even Steinitz talks about this too as well, right? You have to have the right criteria, the right pieces, right, for you to actually have an attack. So rook to a8, rook to a8, rook a1, rook a e8, right? Look at the shuffle back and forth. Look at what black did, right? Knight b5. Oh, move the rook. Great move. Another great move, like rook back to a8. All right, cool. Rook h1, rook fc8. Black's doing nothing, but white has the right b4 at the right moment. If we play it at any moment, we're going to lose this pawn because a4 will be hanging. So we have to watch out for that. Knight a to c3, rook c to b, knight to a2, and a little bit of shuffle, a little bit of tuck and roll there. We have to be careful because b4 actually is going to come and a4 is going to be hanging once again. So rook c8, we shuffle, rook a1, then maybe play b4 at the right moment again. Knight b7, we're just waiting on b4. Rook h to b1. We don't have to play it yet. Look at the patience. Look at that. How many of you are just itching b4? B4. It's like a twitch. Like b4, b4, b4. And they're never playing it, right? It's the patience here. Very nice patience from the engine. Bishop f8, queen to d1, right? That's not even necessary. It's just, I'll play it when I want to. You can definitely learn something about patience and when to do things from this game. King to g8 and b4. It's time. Break that boy open. Break that boy open. But even now, it's still hard to break through. I mean, it definitely takes some engine-like play. Right. So after b4, king to g7, b takes a5, knight takes a5, knight to b4. We get our knight on a good square, but it's also hanging the pawn. What happens if he takes it? I mean, let's look at a cool tactic here. Boom. Knight takes c4. We have a rook to c1. Right. And knight e3 check makes total sense. But after knight e5, you actually, weirdly enough, have rook a2, and then everything's just winning because you can't deal with this. That's a very, very crazy line. You also have this line with after knight takes c4, rook to c1, knight e3 check, which is a common move. This pawn is going to fall, obviously. So takes, and we go rook a3. Queen's defending. Pieces are better. You have a weakness on c7. e3 is going to fall. Not going to work. So after king h7, right? King h7, instead of taking, well, okay, we're not going to give you a second chance to take that. So rook to c1, rook c to b, knight d3. Nice little maneuver. Now watch this, guys, right? I mean, we maneuver a little bit. All of this looked all fine. I mean, how do you break through? Yeah, that's cool. Oh, you got your b4 in. Great job. Well, b4, you finish this game, right? You're going to have to figure out what to do here. So it's white to move. What do? Here it is. Well, it's hard to break through. C5 ain't working. I mean, you can shuffle some more, but this is, I mean, how many shuffles you got? Remember, this is a blitz game. So Stockfish says, yeah, you're right. This is a blitz game. Yeah, I played b4. You know, you're right. Sack it. Knight takes c7. It's whatever. It's whatever. Knight takes c7. Your move, big fella. That is a piece sacrifice. Wow. And you're only getting 2 pawns right now for this. So knight takes c7. Queen or rook takes is going to be responded literally the same. Rook takes was the move here. And what it does is it wrecks black structure 100%. We grabbed 1 pawn for the piece. Now we grab a second. We also have a passed pawn, and we have the b file. And your pieces are kind of just here doing really nothing in a way, trying to defend. With that being said, I mean, this is a ultimate sack that actually wins. I mean, a beautiful rook backing up, rook to b5. Put the rook on a very nice square. We can push the pawn. We can double the rooks. We have all the play. White sacrificed the piece for 2 pawns, but think about this. What is the bishop on f8 doing? Okay, all right, cool. What about the knight on e7? Oh, yeah, right. No squares. So the piece sacrifice is a legit one. It actually works because, you got 2 pieces that can't even move here. So after rook b8, moving what you can, rook c to b1, knight to c8, queen c2. What we're doing is easily just moving our pieces forward. If knight takes b6, which is what happens, knight takes b6, rook takes, we're actually threatening rook takes b7, of course, if you try to trade and do everything on a4. King h8, and here we go. Like, you can't move anything. c5, time to break through. G6 is hanging. E5 could be hanging when you capture. There's going to be a c6. Everything 6 is about to be a problem, big fella. Queen to c7 and c6. Cool. We're going to get some material back in a few moves here. Knight to c5 looking good. We could capture, but then rook takes b6. So you got to be careful. So we find a nice move. a5. Ooh, here come the cavalry. Here come the team, right? a5. If you rook takes a5, rook takes b8. And if rook takes b6, You got 2 pawns on the 6th rank, which is equivalent to a rook, right? That's what they say in my system. So that's going to be scary. You can't take that, obviously. Not happening, big fella. So queen to a7, stepping out of the way. Easy move. Knight takes c5, d takes c5. And then the rest here, honestly, there's still another 20 moves. So let's move through this. Rook 1 to b5 as we move the rook up to defend this pawn. We also want to maybe put the queen behind the rooks, as you do have Alekhine or Aliekin's gun there. c4. Boom! There it is. Sack the piece, move the king 100 times, like patience, uncastle my king, castle my king, right? I castled to both sides in the same game. Got Alekhine's gun going. I mean, what a game here. Queen b2, rook to e8, defending because this was a real threat. Queen takes e5, queen takes c5, and then queen c3. Cool. I'll take the other one. Look, I mean, I have too much. I have too much going on. There's only a matter of time before the engine goes down here. Bishop to d6, we take on c4. Rook e7, still shuffling. Queen c3. No, we don't have to do anything. There's lots of moves that could have been played. Queen c3 was played. Rook to g7, rook to b7. I mean, and this is nice because it defends too as well. But okay, queen to a6, queen c4. Black is literally completely paralyzed here. You can't do anything. So he plays rook to c7, queen a2 as we were finishing up some of the moves here. Rook to g8, shuffling. White's doing the same kind of way. I'm just shuffling, see what I can do, get some moves in. I can do this, I can do that. Patience. Remember, that was the word here. Patience, not on blunder, right? But patience. Rook to e7, rook 7, b6. I mean, literally, look how much patience was here. We got the rook here. Queen was on c4, b2. Like, now it's back here. It's just definitely, I'm going to take my time with this game. I'm going to take my time. Queen a7, queen b2, king h7, rook b7. Finally, we got something here as we have a little triangulation somehow, some way, or some type of blunder. But rook to b7, queen to e3. We're going to push the pawn, a6, rook g7, a7, and this is going to be easy. Clockwork here, right? Takes on g7. Rook b7, king f8. Can you find the finishing move? It is up to you. It is white to move here. Can you find it? What do you do after king f8? I mean, you're down a piece. You're down a piece. You better figure this out. You got to figure this out. And the queen, Black's queen, is definitely in potential for perpetual checks. So what are you going to do? Here it is. Here it is. The move is easy. Rook b8. Hopefully you did your puzzle rush today. If you didn't, go back and do it right now because you need to be doing your puzzle rush. Checks, captures, threats, every move. Rook b8 check. Time to resign after bishop takes. We're going to take that right back. I appreciate you. That's a queen. Now I got 2 queens on the board. So after takes, of course, taking this way, weirdly enough, I mean, there are some checks, but you will be able to get out of them. This is not the most accurate. This way is like, I mean, you're either going to let me keep 2 queens or you have to take 1, which was capture. And the rest here actually is easy after queen b2. We did not want to allow any checks and all the perpetuals. So queen d3, queen b7 check first. King g8, check again. Check again. Check again. Check again. Check again. Queen c5. I mean, this was all like this is one of the coolest patience games and more of a troll in a way. I mean, all of these checks and then like, oh, I'll just bring the queen back now. Like, I mean, wow, you know, it's such a human like play here at the end, which was nice. King g8, c7, queen e2 check, right, queen back. And of course, this needed to be here so we can defend. Now the queen can also come around here. I mean, how do you even stop? Queen c4, right, being the only move. But then we got 2 pawns, right? d6, like, come on. This is game over. King f7, queen d2. So we're going to push this one now. Queen takes e4. Spicy, spicy. Queen takes c4. Queen takes c4. Wow. Man, what a troll. Didn't even take the queen. Check, king g7. Now we'll take the queen, f3. And then, of course, this is easy from this point on. And checkmate was to follow. This was a crazy game. Talk about patience. Hopefully, you're patient in your own games. And hopefully, you enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, leave some comments under the video. And watch the video right above me. We'll see you guys on the next video.